The Maroon White Pod brought to you by CityLink. For bookings, timetables, updates and any other information, head to citylink.ie. To look ahead to round 2 of the Senior and Intermediate Hurling Championships this weekend. I'm joined by Kevin Brady and Damian Curley to look ahead to the action. Damian, coming to you first. This round 2 now, it's going to be interesting. After this weekend, the groups are going to take shape.
Yeah, I suppose there was a little bit of trepidation, I suppose, for most teams heading into the first round of the championship. But now that there's a game under their belt, I suppose they know whether they've won or they've lost, and there's a little bit on the line, I suppose, from here on. Now, the teams that got a win in the first round probably are in a good position. Confidence is up. They'll want to drive on from there. I suppose the teams that have lost, if you lose 2, you're practically gone. So I suppose the it's a crucial weekend really when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and with that, Brady, the teams that obviously won want to back it up and get another 2 points on the board. And as Damien mentions there's going to be some teams desperate who haven't got a win yet to get their first win of the campaign.
Yeah, that's true, Shocks. Yeah. There was no big shock the first weekend we seen it. Most of the predictions we got fairly right. They were predictable enough. The big guns came out and done their job. If they can follow up this week now again, the groups will take pretty much the stage you'd expect them to take. I can't see any big shocks again this weekend. There's a few right good crunchers of games, all right, but a few local derbies there. Mm-hmm. And I think the Cashel and Sarsfields one is going to be a cracker. They've had a couple of years there. There's nothing between them. So, going back to what you said, the lads that lost the first round, it's panic stations this weekend now within the groups. I know you don't use the word panic when you're in the management dressing room, but at the same time, the guys know what's at stake. If you lose 2 from 2, you're facing down the barrel of a gun. You're in a relegation battle, and you don't want to be going down that road, into winter hurling again.
If we're to look straight away at the first game, Turlock, Capitle, 4:15, Kenny Park on Saturday. This is one now, you talk about Cashel and Sarsfields, Brady, but this is one to get excited for as well.
It is, yeah. On a nutshell, Turlock, and I'll give my reasons why. They shot the lights out the last day. They just went for, we didn't know what kind of a team Turlock are very wishy-washy at times, but if Turlock get a run in you, they'll destroy you. They have a few good guys coming back now again. I think Killian's is back in with them. Lennon, they've all the big guns still there. They're strong down the middle. They brought Dave Morris in this year. Huge bonus to any team when you have Dave Morris in. Cahill Moore is back in there as well. So you can be sure if you watch Turlock this year now, wait, you see their tackling. It'll be, and their foul count will be so far down. It'll be at an inter-county level. That's what he's in there for now. I've trained with Dave with football, and I know exactly what he brings to the table. He's meticulous in what he'll do. And for Shocks and the boys to get him in now, it wasn't cheap in the club, but I can guarantee you it'll be worth it. It will be worth it. Cappy will bring such a physical game to Turlock. They'll try and draw the Turlock out of them, but Cappy went well as well the first day. But I can't see Turlock being beaten in this one. I really can't. They've laid down a statement the first day. If they can push on the next day now, they're really where they want to be after last year's disappointment after the county final,
With that, Damien, there's a bit of a sense of an unknown with Cappy coming into this weekend. They were good against Kilconieron in the second half when they kind of came back from behind to get the result in the end. But Turlock's a big step up now this weekend.
Yeah, I suppose it's funny in ways. I mean, Cappy probably had their measure a couple of years ago in different games and quarterfinals and stuff like that, but Turlock appear to have brought on a few, a few of their younger guns have come on the scene, and of course the older guys are still there and playing probably better than they ever played. But guys like Sean O'Hanlon have come into that team, and they're good up and coming prospects, guys that are able to score. Cappy, I suppose, in a similar vein. The two Collinses would have come on the scene in the last couple of years. They definitely had a couple of subs that they brought on the last day. That'll be newer names and new kids on the block a little bit. So I suppose I would agree with Kevin though. At the end of the day, it's probably hard to look outside Turlock. To put up a 331 scoreline in the last game. you don't do that too easily. If they can repeat that, they're certainly going to be sending out a message that they're serious contenders.
From a Cappy perspective, they're probably going to need get the most out of the Collinses and Jar Mannion there, as you talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been the way with them for the last number of years. I suppose that, they're the nearly men really of the club championship. They've been thereabouts, just struggled to get past the semi-final stage. You always kind of felt that if they broke the glass ceiling and got into a county final, that maybe there was a title there for them, and that's still not out of the question. But they'll really have to produce it every single day to go out. They're a team that if they got to the knockout stages, they could take a scalp somewhere along the way and could end up in the big time before you know
it. Turlock to Brady, we've seen them rack up a big score, but I know we're probably all going to predict Turlock here. I will get predictions after this, but this isn't going to be easy either.
No, listen, senior championship hurling is never easy. Like every game, and you can say what you like, it's an old cliche, it takes a life of its own. Like if Turlock went out and played the way they did the last day, it might be good enough the next day. Like every game is different. Like if Tahi Burke puts up his hand the next day and breaks a finger, what do you do? And where do you go? If Sean Lennon pulls a hamstring, you don't know. If Sean O'Hanlon pulls up, all of these things are different things, like Turlock for me are very physically mature. They're big men. But what I feel they're missing is just one or two key forwards, natural forwards. They never replace the likes of Franny Ford. We spoke about this the last evening. They'll have guys you can drop in at wing forward, centre forward, who can also play in the half back line. Franny Ford could never play in the half back line. He could play in the full forward line. That was it. You want a natural forward. They just seem, even Ronan Badger when he was hurling with them, and he was big, and like Badger doesn't mind me saying this, a good friend of mine, lethargic in around the square, but he's a nightmare. He's a nightmare. He put up the hand. He was a goal poacher. That's what Turlock is. The only part of the jigsaw is missing from me. When you come up then against the likes of Thomas's, who have just riddled with forwards, Loughrea, Clarinbridge, forwards win games. And you can even see it the last day. They only scored 2 goals after scoring 32 points or 31 points. Like, you'd imagine if they were shooting that well, the lights out, they should have been able to sneak a few more goals in. That'd be my only thing coming later on down the line, but I can't see them being beaten this tomorrow either.
So just on this, I'm going to get predictions and your margin of how much it seems like we all seem to be going for Turlock. So Damien, coming to you first there, who do you think will win this game and by how much?
I'm going to bank for Turlock by 5 points in that one, Pod.
And Brady, how much do you think Turlock are going to win this one by?
I go Turlock 10.
Turlock 10?
Yeah, I do. I honestly do. I just think Turlock are flying at the moment. They'll shoot the lights out, come points and all of that kind of stuff again. That's no disrespect to Cappy. If Cappy were playing some other team this weekend, but Turlock, as you know, Shocks and Damien, if they get a run on you early on in the championship, and Turlock were never a start of the year team, they'd always come the middle, second half of the year. Like I said, they have 2 new guys brought in with them this year. They're really hurt over last year. I think they're going to lay down a huge marker this weekend. And we'll know exactly the kind of Turlock we're dealing with after Sunday.
Yeah, with that, I think Cappy are going to bring a huge battle this weekend, but I think they'll just come up short, and I think Turlock to win that by 3 points at the weekend. The other game at 3:15 in Duggan Park in Group 1, Kilconieron and Mullagh, both on 0 points. Damien, there's no point to saying otherwise here. Both of these sides have targeted this game from the outset.
Yeah, I agree, Paul. I suppose it's a big step. Both of these teams have come up in the last couple of years, and I suppose their survival with the big boys for a year or two to try and find your feet and to get settled into Senior A is probably the aim of the game here. Mullagh came up from a very competitive Senior B championship last year. They had a replay win against the Haskra Fona in the Senior B final, and they were 2 good games actually, and they put up a big score and probably expected to do well coming into Senior A championship. But I suppose it is a big step up. Kilconieron have been there for the last year or two, held their own against Capitle, led at different times during the game. Probably will felt maybe that it was one they left behind them. But as you said, this one is probably the game that has to be won for both of those teams. Both of them will be stung after losing the first one. Mullagh probably more stung in the manner that they lost it. I suppose they conceded a big score. But at the same time, they'll feel they have a championship game under their belt. They'll come out all guns blazing, as will Kilconieron. I suppose it's a tough one to call now. In fairness, it's down to small margins in that one, I'd say.
Does a lot depend here on the fitness of the McGlynn?
Yeah, it probably does. Like he is a real good player and a real good club player and has potential to be a good county player as well. Great engine on him. Would have been similar to Kevin when he hurled in his time, which isn't that long ago. But yeah, it probably is a crucial part of it. Conor Dolphin will have a huge part to play for Mullagh. Like the struggle for scores, they're probably really dependent on him. So it's a tough one to call. Probably give a slight nod to Kilconieron based on the fact that they're up that little bit longer, but that it'd only be a tentative nod now. In all fairness,
Brady, the big thing about Mullagh is they took a big shipping against Turlock. What's the reaction going to be like this week?
Yeah. And that's sorry, Kevin.
Sorry, Damien. Was that for Damien and myself?
You can jump in there, Brady. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Damien, putting across you. I think it's like I have to agree with everything Damien said there, and I mean that. I'd have to give Kilconieron the nod this weekend. But going back to your question about the shipping they took against Turlock and Mullagh, I didn't predict that. We predicted Turlock would win, but to come up and to take a shipping like that. Now, talking to Finergy during the week and a few things, they're not very happy up there at the moment. The players, no in-fight camper or fighting or anything like that. Just don't seem to be going great pre-season. That can happen, the lull after a bit of a high from last year. Like Cahill Durvan is a huge loss to them. He's massive. He was their anchor man there for a long time. You could play him centre forward, wing forward, full forward, even centre back. You could play him anywhere. Now he hasn't come back, and I have to go with Kilconieron this weekend because if Mullagh had brought a bit more fight against Turlock. But then again, you're dealing with county finalists from last year. It's levels apart. Like Shocks, Damien knows that it's light years apart. From going for a big team like Thomas's or Turlock, coming up from Senior B. So I'm going to go with Kilconieron on the basis that Damien said they've that bit more experience. They've one or two guys, that can win a game for them. That'll be my prediction this weekend.
How much there, Brady?
I go a point in Kilconieron, very, very close as well. It could be a puck at the ball, but I go Kilconieron by a point.
And Damien, how much there?
I fully agree with Kevin there. I don't think there'll be much in this game. It'll be a dogfight. I give Kilconieron the nod by a point as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kilconieron by 3 just to see it out there in the end. Just think the difference of maybe they have more positives out of their first round performance than Mullagh do. On to Group 2 then. The first game on Friday night, 6:30 in Kenny Park, Craughwell, Clarinbridge. Damien, if you look at Craughwell in their opening round, you thought Loughrea was going to be a target that they were going to maybe get closer, considering all the injuries Loughrea had. They're coming up now against Clarinbridge, and we all know what Clarinbridge are going to bring. But this really feels like a weekend that Craughwell need a performance.
Well, I suppose if they were ever going to give one, it's got to be this weekend, based on the first round results, and I suppose based on this is a local derby. There'll be real spice to this one. They're traditional rivals, back through the years, neighbouring clubs. You'd have to assume that if there was ever going to be a performance out of Craughwell, it'll be in this one. Now, having said that, I think Clarinbridge are probably the class team in this group. They've been knocking on the door for a couple of years. In actual fact, I would have said maybe 3-4 years ago, they were the kind of a team that if they won one, they could go on to do what Thomas on it and win 4 or 5. Now that hasn't happened yet, and they've stumbled in a lot of the big games. But based on the fact that they probably have 20 really good hurlers, they're probably good enough to win this. But as we've said in about all the games so far, every game takes on a life of its own in a situation like this. And if there's any fight in Craughwell, this is the day that they'll produce it. But I still think Clarinbridge might have a bit too much for them.
How would you see Craughwell, Brady?
Yeah, we spoke about it as well the last day with Fergal Healy, and probably one of the best clubmen ever, Fergal Healy and Niall Healy, like all they've done for Craughwell. And they were always a team you felt you get the better of, but they always produced it, They were there like when Port Tumna were going well, pretty much with the team that was there when Thomas was going well, only with 4 or 5 different lads coming in. Like when you have Niall Healy, Fergal Healy, Toddler, Daniels, Cullinan, all of these guys gone out of a team. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. Like that's every one of them lads hurled county, and I probably missed another 4 or 5 there. So
they were in that relegation last year, obviously as well.
They don't deserve to be there, shocked, but it's not about what you deserve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not about what you deserved or whatever. But I think Craughwell are a class hurling team. They're lovely stickmen. Pretty much the same as Clarinbridge, but with Donoghue back in with Clarinbridge this year, there has to be a sting in them now. There are young guys that are after coming out of minor. I know it's a big step up. They'll get a nice welcome when they meet the likes of Turlock or Thomas. Welcome to senior hurling. But class is class, and Donoghue, I think he'll really, really have Clarinbridge singing a tune this year. So I'd have to fancy Clarinbridge in this one. But at the same time, Craughwell they'll be middle of the group contenders later on in the season, but that's as far as they're going in my own opinion. Now Daniel is over them this year, and Toddler and the boys, great clubmen, brilliant clubmen, and they would have coached a lot of them younger guys coming through, but they won't go down without a fight, you can be sure of that.
Clarinbridge as well, as you mentioned, Damien, probably the form team at the minute of the championship. Their panel looks dangerous this year, but at the same time, it's not like they're setting the world on fire at the minute, but they just seem to be doing enough even throughout the league and early on the last day, even against Michael.
Yeah, and I think maybe that mightn't be a bad route for Clarinbridge to go. I think the last year or two in particular, they've shot the lights out in some of the early games, and probably, they get built up and maybe they've flopped a little bit when it came to the knockout stages. So they might be kind of better off tipping along nice and steady for the group stages and getting ready for an assault on the championship then when it comes to it. I think it's in them. I do think they have the hurlers. They just seem to have had a little problem with producing it on the big day. A couple of small things going against them in knockout games that you kind of wouldn't expect for fellas that are really good hurlers. So, they'll need their big guns. They'll need the Gavin Lees and the Evan Nylands. Evan got 116 the last day, that's huge scoring. But then I suppose on the flip side of that, the day that Evan is held, are they going to be able to rack up the big score? So, they're a good team. We know that. They're the form team at the moment, put up a good score in the first round, but they'll have to come out and produce it against their neighbours at the weekend if they're serious about putting down a marker.
Yeah, I think actually this is the first game we could see Aaron Nyland play senior hurling for Clarinbridge. He's expected to be back in the Clarinbridge jersey this weekend, so it's another forward to add to this team. It seems that we're all going with Clarinbridge. Damien, how much there are you?
I'm going to go for Clarinbridge by 5 points in this one.
And Brady?
Yeah, the Bridge by 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go Clarinbridge by 7 in that one. The other game, Sunday, 12 o'clock, Beer Stadium, Loughrea, Mike Cullen. Loughrea were destroyed the championship in the first round, considering all the injuries, and they get over the line against Craughwell. And that's going to give this group huge confidence. With this, Brady, still a good few injuries that probably won't be available back for them this weekend, but is this one you expect them to back up to against Mike Cullen?
Oh, 100%. And that's no disrespect to Mike Cullen. They'll be coming for the juggler this weekend, knowing that they still have a good few injuries. They're 1 or 2 back, but like Loughrea are on a different level, really. They have a backroom team, a management team there that most county teams would look for. John Connolly's in with them, and like people say management teams can't do it. They can't, but they can bring it to the table and training. And when you have winners like that around you, it feeds off on the team. Johnny Cohn is still there and leading it from full back. like Loughrea will be there. They'll really be there at the business end of the year. They felt they got caught last year, against Turlock in the semi-final. Talking to a few of the Loughrea lads after. No disrespect to Turlock. I was at that game and Turlock beat them in every aspect of the field. But Loughrea are coming this year, coming nice and quietly. And I think it's a good time. Still have a few injuries. I think they'll be, even with injuries, and that's no disrespect to Mike Cullen. Hardy done some great work there the last few years with them, doing well with Athenry now, but I still think Loughrea have way too much further.
Darren Shaughnessy is a huge boost, Damien. He's expected to be back on the field this weekend now for Loughrea.
Yeah, I look at Loughrea, a team that you'd have to admire, the club that you'd have to admire. Like they've been around for the last probably 20 years at this stage, with a couple of different iterations of teams, and they're coming again with a new batch mixed with an old batch, but they're always thereabouts, and you'll know you have a championship game won if you manage to beat Loughrea. I have to admire them. Darren Shaughnessy will be a huge boost back to them. They're still missing Jamie Ryan, who for me has been one of the best club hurlers in the county for the last 5 or 7 years. So if they do manage to get all their players back in the field come knockout stage, they'll be very close to winning the title. So that I definitely give them the nod in this one, and that's no disrespect to Mike Cullen. They're doing savage work out there to keep the game going, and they've brought through some very good players over the last number of years. But just think that the hardened experience of Loughrea will count.
Yeah, the additions even there, Bobby Feeney, Vince Morgan, Colin Killeen in, like they're not weakening things at all out there. And that's the depth they're developing, Damien.
Absolutely. I just think that, as I said, they had a real strong team, strong bunch of lads going back maybe 10 years ago. Most of that bunch are gone now. There's a new batch coming, and they just, as you said, they've seamlessly kind of let them into the team, and it hasn't weakened them in any shape. And, they're still contenders, and they're annual contenders. And as I said, if they get their full team in the field, they'll be a hard team to beat.
Yeah, a text we got in there on the question box was Loughrea should be wary of Mike Cullen this weekend. Kevin, on that, Mike Cullen can still take positives though. It's not like they got a hiding against Clarinbridge in the first round.
No, they didn't. But when Aaron Island scores 116, questions have to be asked somewhere. But then again, when you have an inter-county hurler that's a county star, he should be scoring that every day. But we spoke about the last day, Mike Cullen are so physically fit. They're so well conditioned that they know their hurler might be small bit behind some of the topper team because they're not that long up senior. It takes years to get to that level. It really does. And it's not just the team that you're working on that you get to that level. It's from the under 16s to the minors, the under 21s, and you're bringing the whole system through, and then they're ready after about 10 years. So it takes at least 8 to 10 years at that level to get competitive. It really does. It's very, very unlikely that any team will just come up and snap it like that. It's the physical conditioning, the whole club ethos, everything like that. But Mike Cullen will give you everything. They're probably the one club that are most passionate with the hurling and football. I know a lot of people out there, they give everything every day they go out, and they'd have as much big support for the hurlers as with the footballers. But I can't see them doing that in this weekend, and that's really no disrespect to them because they give everything.
Prediction there again, Brady. You see, I'm Loughrea winning, but by how much?
I go Loughrea 10 points.
And Damien?
I go Loughrea 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Loughrea there by 7. I think they'll squeeze over it could be tight for a period, but I think they'll just have too much in the end. Group 3, Friday night, Duggan Park, 7 o'clock, Gort and Clymer Daly. Similar to Kilconieron and Mullagh here, Damien. It's another one of these where both of these clubs are just desperate this weekend to get points on the board.
Yeah, and I suppose both of them will have taken some heart from the first round of games that they put up a pretty decent score. And, the Gort Tommy's game was in the balance for a good bit of the game. Tommy's only pulled away a little bit at the end. Similarly, Clymer Daly probably, put it up to Thomas's for as long as they could. So they'll take a bit of heart from that. They're two teams I suppose Gort probably feel like a team maybe slightly on the decline. They had a real good run at it there a couple of years ago, but you'd be kind of saying, have they brought enough of young fellas, new young fellas in to boost them up, similar to what we were saying about Loughrea? Killarmer seem to have the same bunch of players for the last 5 or 6 years, and they're there or thereabouts. But again, I suppose they're a little bit like Capitle in that they're able to get to a certain level, but just not able to push on. And I suppose they would be very dependent on the likes of Brian Concannon and a few of their bigger guys. But they, again, as Kevin was saying there, it takes 10 years. Killarmer, I've seen them at underage a good bit over the last few years, certainly have a good bunch coming. If they can hang on and get the next batch of young players coming through, they'll be okay for the next 10 years. There'll be no loss in them. They just need to hang on and get those fellas in. So tough one to call. If I suppose I'd give a slight nod maybe to Killarmer just based on the fact that maybe there's more for them to play for.
On that, Brady, it's a good point Damien makes there. Gort were competitive against Tommy Larkins, but they had too much in the end. Killarmer were competitive against Thomas's, but had too much in the end. So it was really the finishes for both sides that let them down in the opening round.
Yeah, we spoke about it in the first podcast. And I think I tipped Gort today, or could have been a draw. I had them up there about, to push, and they weren't fair off it. Gort are the kind of team, they'll keep you in a dogfight. They've always been that way. They're struggling really with a couple of forwards as well.
Paddy Commons is a massive loss.
Oh, huge loss. Like Paddy make any club team. With Hart left 2 years ago, for them to still continue on doing what they're doing is exceptional. But Gort are very like Craughwell at the moment, different style of hurling, but they'll be mid-table, and that's as far as they go this year, I feel. Killarmer are a nice outfit, I agree totally what Damien said there, When you have the likes of Brian Concannon and they have 3 or 4 other young guys around them, they're strong down the middle and they're very, very fit. Physically, they're probably not as demanding as we'd say the likes of the Turlocks or Loughreas of this world, but I think it'll suit them against Gort now. That's in Ballinasloe, isn't it, Shocks?
Yeah, Ballinasloe Friday evening at 7. Yeah.
The only thing about it is in Ballinasloe it'll suit Gort. So I'd actually go a draw on this one. There's nothing between these two teams. Nothing. A puck of a ball either way.
Just on it as well, Brady, like we talked about Paddy Commons being a massive loss, but Brian Burke, he's been probably one of the most exceptional free takers in the Club Hurling Championship over the last few years. Like, he didn't play the opening round now for Killarmer, and he's as big as a loss as Paddy Commons is for Gort as well.
Oh, he is, of course. Like, when you talk about the likes of Farrer and Canning, they don't miss frees. Like, Burke has never been given that recognition either because he's from a smaller club and they might be getting to the higher standards every year, but he's equally as good as any of them guys on a free. He's laser, absolute laser in any position of the field, with or against the breeze. He's out this weekend as well, isn't that right?
Yeah, I think so. It's suspected that he's going to be out, yeah.
Yeah, they're not sure, but there's rumour he is out, and Paddy Commons out as well. So I don't know. They're very, very evenly matched. They're two different styles of teams. One seems to be coming down. Killarmer, just when you think they're about to come up, they'll get a hockey, and I'm just going to go with a draw on it, Shocks. It's a game now that I'd have to see. It'll be a bit of magic from one player now that'll turn the tide on it.
On it as well, Damien, you obviously have predicted Killarmer there, but how much do you expect them to get over this one?
Kevin could be dead right with the call on the draw. I'm going to give Killarmer the nod by 2 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gort there by 3. I think I've just seen enough. I know they lost to Larkins in the first game, but they still battled on in that one. They were behind in periods, and I think they had a decent year last year, so I think they're just going to squeeze over the line in this one. The other game in Group 3, Tommy Larkins versus St. Thomas's, Sunday at 5 o'clock in Duggan Park. It's the thing here, Damien, Thomas's, you're Connor Cooney. You don't play James Regan because, well, you obviously can't because of his red card in the All-Ireland final. And I think maybe it might just be the nice time for Clarinbridge to get it. But Thomas's just do what they do best and just find a way and get through relatively easy, 220 to 112. And it's hard to really see how Tommy Larkins are going to beat them this weekend.
Well, I suppose, look, we're probably all for the last 3 or 4 years waiting for somebody to come along and take Thomas's crown, and nobody has been able to do it yet. And to add to that, then they had the cheek to go on and win another All-Ireland title. So look, they've been worthy champions. They've been the best team in Galway. There's no two ways about it. Everybody, you can say what you like. You can say this team should have won it, that team should have won it. Nobody won it. Thomas's still set the benchmark and went out and were just able to win county finals when push came to shove. They were just able to push on and win them. So they've been absolutely savage champions. So we'll have to give them that first and foremost. Are they on the way down yet? Well, there was no signs of it in the first round of the championship. And as you said, Paul, it's a big ask for Tommy's, a young side. Albeit a good side, and with sprinkled with very good hurlers. And when they hit their day, Tommies are probably as good as anybody out there. They'll rack up big scores. They're determined. They're loyal. They're spirited. And if they could keep in that game up to the end, they could be thereabouts. But you'd have to assume that Thomas's are still able to grind these games out, and you know, guys like Éanna Burke are still producing it. David Burke was outstanding again, I believe, the last day at midfield for Thomas's. Just to control the game at different times of the game, and they just don't allow you to get a foothold. They don't allow the opposition to get a foothold in the game. So, you know, it'd be great to see the likes of Tommy's having a right good cut of them, but I'd still expect Thomas's to be able to come through it.
Brady, you used the words off air before we started recording. Thomas's are in a different league.
Yeah, and I stand by that. Even on here, they're animals. You know, they really are. Like they scraped their way through the county championship last year in Galway. Sarsfields could have beaten them. Joseph Cooney went into full forward, and only for their goalkeeper Sherry made a massive save to went down the field, scored a point, came over, won it. Like that was Sarsfields' chance. You would have reckoned, and everyone was hoping that Thomas would have been beaten. It'd give someone a chance to win a county title, but they turn around. They win their county title and then go on and win the All-Ireland. They're defined margins. You know, that's why they have every player doing what they need to do. You know, the goalie has to stand up, you know, in the last minute of the game, boom. This is what he's there for the last 6 years for. I still can't see anybody beating them a goal with this year. I know we go to that later on in the year, but like, how can you go from winning 6 county titles and winning another All-Ireland and be beaten in your club championship? I can't see it. I really can't. Like David Burke got on team of the week last week, you know, at 36 years of age, and Farrer as well. And these guys are still shooting the lights out. You know, class is class. And people are saying, "Oh, David Burke has gone past it. He should retire." David Burke will tell you when he wants to retire. You know, it's as simple as that. Like, even if they have David Burke around the campaign and when the goal was set up, and bring in the younger guys around him, watch how he does it. You know, it's not how much he moves, it's where he moves and when he moves. And he's striking of the ball, his distribution, it's class to watch. And there's a main streak in him as well, within in a good sense, if you know what I mean. They can back it up any way you want it. And like Tommy Larkins, we spoke about this as well, even with Sir Farrell, you know, his own club down there. Like they have Jason Flynn and all these guys. And like Damien hit the nail on the head. They're a very, very spirited team. They really are. And that's not a concession like of, you know, trying to be nice to them. They are a very, very competitive team. They'll hurl you to the last minute and they'll hunt in packs, but class is class. If they were playing anybody else this weekend, I'd give them a chance, but not against the All-Ireland champions.
It's the thing with Larkins, like it's a big result to get against Gort over the line, particularly going into a game against the county champions and obviously the standard bearers of Galway hurling. It's a free shot to nothing as well in one sense, Damien, but it's probably one that's where you kind of mark it as a free shot.
Well, I suppose, as we mentioned there a few minutes ago, sometimes you might be kind of keeping your powder a little bit dry at this time of the year. And, we've seen it over the last couple of years. Probably when the championship starts, pitches are probably in not bad nick. Weather is decent, although you couldn't say that at the moment. And teams tend to put up very big scores. And you'd be it's very hard to get a kind of a true reading, I think, of what's going to happen when it comes to the knockout stages, because we'll nearly be back into winter style hurling when it comes to the knockout stages. So we're really dealing with nearly two completely different championships. So I don't think Tommy's would be too disappointed to narrowly lose to Thomas's this weekend. I think it would be a good learning curve for them. They certainly have a sprinkling of good players, and they weren't far off getting to a semi-final a couple of years ago. So, they have been thereabouts. What would it take to get them to the next level? I'm not quite sure. They may not just have the quantity or the quality of the players that Thomas's have at the moment. But as I said, if they could be thereabouts, get a good competitive game under their belt, I don't expect them to beat Thomas's, in all honesty. And as Kevin said there, it's it could be hard to see anybody taking their title, but that'll come in the knockout stages. We'll know a little bit more. So I think for the moment, if Tommy's got real good game, competitive game under their belts, finish maybe second in the group, and be ready for an assault at the quarterfinal after that, that'd be a good run for them.
Thomas's by how much there, Damien?
I'm going to give it Thomas's by 5.
And Brady?
Thomas's by 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go Thomas's by 8 there this weekend. On to Group 4, Sarsfields and Cusacks, 6 o'clock, Kenny Park. It's a double header with Capitle and Turlock. And to be honest, that probably is the best double header over the weekend. If people are considering what games to go to, I think this is the one to go to. Sarsfields and Cashel, Brady, this is one you're looking forward to.
It is, yeah. I think everyone in the county is looking forward to it. I got slated last year for Slate and Cashel before the first round of the championship that, they were prima donnas and this and that. And I stood over it. I said it as it was. And, that wasn't an insult to anybody. But, you asked me, you changed your tune this year, Brady. No, I haven't. I have looked at them and it's based on facts. They've been going well pre-season. Matty Murphy's come in with Joseph O'Leary. The whole shift in attitude has changed, and attitude is everything. You need to change attitude before you do any training on fields or anything like that. Matty's a man of few words, but holds great.
Is there a thing though this weekend? Sorry there now to interrupt, Brady, but that Cashel produced an unbelievable performance against Oranmore, but there is a thing now where there's expectation for them to back it up this weekend.
There is, yeah, but I predicted it. I predicted it the last day, and you were asking me why did I change my tune, and I didn't. It wasn't that I changed my tune; it was that they had been going well. Like they were up at the races, and there was all of them having a few drinks, and the vibe was they were looking forward to first round of the championship. Like that's unheard of up there, with the last few years. They're really having a cut of it. They're enjoying their training. They have a lot of different stuff done pre-season. Farrer came off the last day an injury concern. He should be playing the next day. They've shaped their team differently now. Greg Thomas in the full forward line should be in with a county setup. He's a serious hurler. Like they've Jack Kine, who was county standard a few years ago, never really kicked on. Great minor, great under 20 player. Moved him back to the half back line. Now he attacks the ball rather than coming onto the ball. Changed his game dramatically. Got 2 points from wing back the last day. They're strong down the middle and they're physically very, very fit. Now going to Sarsfield on that is Joseph Cooney back?
I think we don't know.
Is the nobody thinks there. Joseph Cooney, because I was talking to a guy yesterday and the question I asked, I said, Joseph Cooney back? And he said, no, I'm not telling you. He was afraid of my life to go back and tell Cashel. But listen, if Joseph Cooney is not playing and Farrer is playing, I'm going to go with Cashel. And even if he is playing, I just think Cashel have a different animal about them this year.
Just on that, Brady, because obviously he played with Cashel. Jeff Farrer is a player who gets the plaudits, and rightly so. But another player maybe who doesn't always get the plaudits he deserved, Donald Barry. He's still producing consistently.
Yeah, and a defender. Sure, what defenders get the plaudits? It's the guys that shoot the lights out. Donald Barry, probably one of the most consistent club players the club has ever produced. Martin Cullen and all of these guys down to Tom Mannion, Owen Teagle, all different guys. But going back to your Donald Barry point, like Donald, he hurled senior county for 2 or 3 years under John McIntyre and hurled very well. People are saying, who's this Barry guy? Like Donald Barry has been very, very consistent in Galway hurling and I think he's actually captain this year. I could be wrong. Excellent hurler, will always pop up for a point or two. Good leader in the dressing room, and he's a model of consistency in training. That's one thing about Donald Barry. He'll bring everything to the session. He'll bring the young guys through, and he's huge into his fitness. Minds his body very, very well. And I was talking to him there in Galway about 6 months ago, and he said, "He going back this year? I'll see how the body is." I heard 2 days later they had a challenge match and he scored 3 points. That's the kind of a lad Donald is. He's very he's just a really, really good club man. I remember when I got a lash from my sliotar off him one time hurling, and I was in hospital for 5 days with the injury after. But the first person after I woke up from surgery was Donald Barry in to see how I was. He felt bad. It was my own teammate hit me by mistake, and that's the kind of guy he is. He's a really, really quiet guy, unassuming guy, but very fit and physically very hard. Good lad, Donald.
The thing then with Sarsfields is we don't know will Joseph be fit this weekend, but he's a player that they want back for this now, Damien.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad that you mentioned Donald Barry. He's been one of the unsung guys of Galway hurling. He played Fitzgibbon with us in GMIT, I'd say back around 2007 or 8. And, tis a testament to the fellow himself that he's still going strong and still, hunting that elusive county medal. So well done to him. And I suppose I'll give a shout out to Farrer and Jack Kine there as well. Two good lads that have kind of... Like Cashel, I do agree, Cashel appeared to have changed their attitude, and I suppose if there was anything Matty was going to get out of them, it was that. He'll bring a very no-nonsense, common-sense approach to it. Kevin mentioned about the prima donnas. I don't think he'll ever prima donna in any of Matty's teams, so that might have changed their perspective. Going back to Sarsfields, I put Sarsfields in the same bracket as Clarinbridge. Yeah. They've been thereabouts for the last couple of years and just seem to have, I'm not going to say flopped, but just haven't really produced it when it came to the real knockout, hard edge hurling. And it's not that they don't have the hurlers, but I just think they're lacking that little bit of, I don't know whether it is mental strength or physical strength, just to get them over the line in those real tough games. And I think if they develop that streak, there'll be a team that could certainly win the title. And that'll be there. I will guarantee you they'll be at the business end of the championship. And I suppose a lot of it will depend then whether they can get their best 15 on the field. Now I saw Kevin Cooney is back. Yeah. And he's going to be a huge addition. He was a big loss to Galway this year, in all honesty. John Cooney.
Yeah, obviously Darren's still out too.
Yes. John Cooney had a real good game the last day as well, chipped in I think with 3 or 4 points. So if those guys come to the fore, and the likes of Alex Kinnear and a few more, Paddy McCarrick and a few more fellas like that, if they can put on the pressure, I think Sarsfields will be thereabouts. Now this will be a real good game this weekend, but again, it may not matter. You may not have to get over the line on this one to determine whether you qualify. I think both these teams will qualify anyway, but it should make for a brilliant game of hurling this weekend.
You expect there Kevin Hines or Niall Quinn, Damien, probably going to be given the task to man Mark Farrer this weekend?
Yeah, and that's an unenviable task for anyone, because I think Ger Farrer, when he's 60, will still be shooting the lights out. We've been, Kevin played with him, obviously. We've been watching him all down through the years. He's just been one of those absolutely brilliant guys. He'll be a kind of a quiet, shy kind of a fella in lots of ways, but Jesus, when he gets out on the hurling field, he turns into a different animal. And if he gets the ball in his hand, he's liable to do anything with it. So Hines, I'd say, he'll be getting stuck in all right, or Niall Quinn, but they'll have a job to hold the great Ger.
And Brady, who's going to mark Kevin Cooney?
That's a tough one. There's on Teagle step in there. Teagle is tenacious. He can be dirty as well, the little rat, and I mean that the best possible way. You need that streak in a corner back, but
Now,
Kevin
he didn't
Cooney,
play the first game.
he didn't, but there's rumours that he's back playing, and he's going okay. I like him. He's the kind of a guy who'd leave you 14 men very quick, but at the same time, he'd wrap up someone, and I think he'd be the guy for Kevin Cooney if he does play.
If he wasn't to play, would it be maybe bringing Simon Thomas or Donald Barry back from the half-back line into...
Just go back and say it, yeah. Donald Barry, has he the legs for cornerback? I don't know. I prefer to leave Donald Barry out the field because he pushes forward. Donald Barry goes on these solo runs and he brings a lot of guys into it. And you ever watch Donald, he'll carry the ball for 5-10 yards and he'll always look up before he strikes to see his far and make the loop from centre forward. He can't do that from cornerback. Young Thomas, yeah, good hurler. Big ass to go in now on Kevin Cooney. Kevin Cooney was some loss to Galway hurling last year. It's a different animal at club and county. You need someone that's really, really going to stick tight there. A guy, I won't say he's young, but Brian Hartnett, I know he's probably not up to that. He was sort of dropped off the team last year, and I couldn't understand it. Like, Brian Hartnett was probably one of Cashel's best cornerbacks over the last 10-12 years. I really, really liked him as a hurler and as a guy. He's small, he's fast, doesn't strike an awful lot of balls, but his touch is immaculate. He's actually left hand on top as well, just like Kevin Cooney. So I'd like to see either him or any of them two on him. Going back to a point Jamie made there, and I'd have Clarinbridge as well in the same bracket as Sarsfields. But just to go off the point, like, what do you think, Damien, on this? Like, if St. Thomas's hadn't been the force that had been, like, could Sarsfields have won a county title in the last few years? Could Turlock have won one? Like, it would have been so open. Like, if we brought Thomas's back to the focus of, we'd say, put them in the middle at the range of, we'd say, Cashel, Sarsfields, Turlock. Like, how many county champions would we've had in the last 5 years, lads? You could have had a different county championship or different county champions over the last 5 years, and it'd be an awful thing to say, like, we had a great team, but we just couldn't get over the line. Like, Sarsfields are up there, and Turlock are up there. Cashel are getting there. Loughrea, all of these teams, it's so hard going back to the well every time, but everyone is hoping in the back of their minds that they're going to get caught, and they're clinging on for that day. And I know Farrer as well is clinging on for that day. He really and truly is. He gives everything for his club, and that elusive county middle. Listen, nothing is impossible. Look at Clare this year. Look at Armagh. Sport is funny.
Predictions there again, Damien. Who do you see coming here?
I'm going to go with a draw on this one.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there too. I think there's going to be a draw here. And Brady?
I go for Cashel 2 points.
Cashel 2 points. The final game then, the Senior Hurling Championship, Sunday, 2:15, Kenny Park, Ardrahan and Oranmore-Maree. Damien, there is a bit of a concern here now about Oranmore-Maree. They took a fair shipping against Cusacks. They took a fair shipping against Sarsfields last year in the quarterfinal. That's where the concern is over Oranmore-Maree at the minute.
Yeah, I suppose you would have thought maybe in the first round that it was kind of the old money of Cashel against the new money of the pretenders in Oranmore. So to take a beating like that could be very hard to recover from that quickly. And they're going out against a team in Ardrahan who they're fair old battlers. They're a team, a little bit like Cashel, a bit of a sleeping giant. Probably didn't fully get as much out of themselves over the last few years as maybe they should have. Now, they have a couple of the Fahis are hurling really well with them at the moment, and there's a couple of younger guys coming through. They'll be very hard beaten Ardrahan. Now, Oranmore look to have all the fine young hurlers coming up, but you have to be able to dog it out in senior championship at some stage. And I think maybe that's what Oranmore are maybe lacking a little bit, is just a couple of good, tough senior hurlers that'll, when the game is in the melting pot, that they'll kind of take a little bit of control and take it by the scruff of the neck and dig in and keep them there and let their younger fellas maybe hurl away. There might be just lacking a little bit of that at the moment. I just feel that, the beating they got the last day, as I said, is going to be hard to recover from. And if you don't recover very quickly, you'll find yourself in the relegation battle also very quickly. So that's not a place Oranmore want to be, because from what we can see, they seem to have good players coming up through their juvenile system, and they'll be looking to get them up to the level as quickly as possible. You can only kind of get to senior level if you go into a panel that's training and playing at a senior level. So I think they want and need to be up there, but whether they'll have the fight in them to hang in there, I'm not quite sure. This could be, Ardrahan could make it very difficult for them this weekend. And if there's 2 losses against their name in Oranmore after this weekend, they'll be in a bit of bother.
And Ardrahan, really, as Damien talked about it there, dogging it out at senior level, that's something they did excellently against Sarsfields. Like, they're really unlucky not to get something out of that game.
Yeah, and not surprised that they pushed Sarsfield so far, Tanyan and Johnny Glenn there still.
Yeah, they weren't even playing though in the opening game.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, without them and hoping to be back the next day. Now, talking to a few or more guys during the week, not the players, but a few of the guys that would have been involved before with them. And the word coming out of Oranmore was after the Cashel game is that they were bullied. The Cashel bullied them physically. And I know Cashel were in great shape, but if Cashel bullied them, what are Ardrahan going to do to them? Ardrahan are big physical men as well. Just like Damien said, they're hardened men. They know what it takes to survive, and it's not about winning so much for them, it's about survival. And I have a lot of good friends up in Ardrahan. They're a good outfit. They're a middle of the road team, but they're a bit like Happy, they could push on. The sleeping giant, as Damien said there, it's a nice slogan for them. I'd agree with that. They could upset anybody at any given time, but at the same time, like Oranmore for me last year when we were doing the podcast, Shocks, I said to you that they were team of the year. Remember, they were coming lovely. Everything was moving well for them, but what a difference 8 months makes. Not even a year. 8 months. They just seem to have, there's a bit of barking I heard went on in the field the last day among themselves, and you don't like to see that. Now, don't know whether it was true or not. I'm sure everything's fine in the camp, but you win together, you lose together, but you stay together, And if there's any chinks in their armour going to get in against Ardrahan, who felt they should have beaten Sarsfields, they'll expose them. So I'm going to go for Ardrahan in this one, and Ardrahan. I'll go for Ardrahan by 3 points, and I think they'll be back up in the championship after the weekend.
And Damien?
I'm going to give the nod to Ardrahan by 2 points.
Yeah, sure. I'll be neutral there and go Ardrahan by 1 in that one. If we're to go on to Senior B, then Senior B Group 1, Ballinderry, Kilconieron, Sunday 1:00 Gort. The 2 winners of the opening round here, Brady, coming up against each other. Both had good victories, and they'll be looking now to build on it. And realistically, whoever wins this game this weekend gets onto that 4 points. It puts them in a very strong position in this group.
Yeah, sorry, Shocks. Who's playing again? I'm just writing down there the last group. Sorry,
Ballinderry and Kilconieron, Senior B, Group 1.
Yeah, listen, I spoke about the last day about the 2 teams that wins the first day, like Ballinderry for me, and I said it to you, I seen them beating Ceylon the intermediate semi-final last year, and everyone was tipping Tina Abbey-Donairi, and I said, that's your county champions. They were exceptional. They were physically so strong. They're hooking, they're hassling. The basics of hurling, basically what Damien spoke about earlier on, no nonsense stuff, no nonsense hurling. That's what they played. I believe they deserve and should be back at senior hurling. I think they'll give Senior B a right good crack this year. Ballinderry are going very, very well. There's a good buzz up there. There's a lot of good young lads coming along the lanes and all of these guys. Good free taker, good management team over them. watch out for Ballinderreen in the next couple of years. But I think they'll be winning this weekend.
How much there?
2 points.
How do you see it, Damien?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like Kilconieron were very unlucky last year. I think they were beaten after replay and extra time by Ahaskra in the Senior B semi-final. And they're a kind of a team to play a nice brand of hurling, in fairness. And there's a scatter of Malais there that really supply the team. I think Colum put up a big score the last day. I think it was something like 111. So, like, they're a team that's, they're probably top of Senior B and might struggle at Senior A is how I'd probably describe them. But they're a good side. Now, I do agree with Kevin. Ballinderreen are an up-and-coming side. Probably slid down a bit unluckily over the last, they've yo-yoed a little bit over the last couple of years. But I think if they can find their feet and hang in there, they've plenty of young fellas coming through. I know that there Luke Prendergast got 2-3, I think, the last day. Niall Cohen got a goal and a point or two. The fellas that can, we mentioned earlier about lads scoring goals, Ballinderreen do appear to be able to score goals. So, having said that, I suppose maybe based on the fact that Kilconieron were maybe there a little bit longer, knocking on the door a bit longer, I'll give them the nod by 2 points.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there, and I think Kilconieron, I'll see out this one against Ballinderreen by 3 points at the weekend. The second game then at 4 o'clock Sunday, Loughrea, Beha, Port Pierces. This feels, Brady, like it's going to be a war zone in Loughrea between these two sides.
Oh yeah, Damien is laughing there, and I have to agree with him. I would like to be a fly in the wall in neither of them dressing rooms. We spoke about it before. The masters that staying at senior hurling Beha, like, write them off at your pearl. Go into a game against Pierces, think you're going to beat them. Oh my God, they'll hit you with everything. The management will be out in the field. They'll be giving it to you. It's that kind of a game now, Shocks. It's not going to come down to skill with these teams. It'll come down to pure discipline and a stroke of luck. There's absolutely nothing between them. If it had been 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said Beha. But Porrick Pierces are a hardened team. I know Donnelly's involved with them. They have the bare 16, and that's no disrespect to them. And they have a panel at 23, 24, but this is all they ever use is 16, maybe 17 guys. They're caught for numbers. Talking to Aidan Divney there one day, big club man. He reckons they'll have a good go at it this year. I'm going to back this as a draw this weekend. Loughrea tight field is going to suit both of them. Whoever put this fixture up in the county board knew that they weren't going to leave much space for the players. Let them off in there and kill each other for an hour. But it's too hard to call for me, Shocks. A flick of a coin there now with either of them. If I had to, I would say I'd say Pierces. But I'm going to go for a draw on it. It's too hard to call. Two very evenly matched teams and two exciting teams. They're two good Senior B teams that I like watching and that the club championship needs.
Yeah, it's just really Damien here because Pierces, they're both really, with the defeats they took in the opening round, they need a win here to bring them back into the championship.
Yeah, I look at either of them. It bite the hand off you for a win or for 2 points in this game. It's a tough one to call, as Kevin has said, and there are two teams that have produced decent hurling over the last number of years, and coming from places with kind of small playing populations, so they deserve great fucking admiration for what they've done over the last number of years. So, like Beha, I'd say if Beha could hold on for another couple of years, by all accounts, they have a scatter of young fellas coming down the way that'll boost them up for another 10 years, but they just need to hang on. And you can see the likes of Joey Gantley and Porrick Landers and fellas like that have soldiered for years. They're hanging in there, just trying to keep them alive. Probably similar with Pierces then with Sir Donlan and probably Pierces have slightly more young fellas coming at the moment. Your man Ronan Bellew at full forward has played well for them in the last game. So again, very tough one to call. That will be a real dogfight, as Kevin said. It'll be just let them inside the gates of Loughrea and Lockett and let them at it. and we'll see who comes out. I'm inclined to agree. I'm not going to call that one. I'm going to say a draw for that one as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Port Pierces by 3 at the weekend to beat by. Group 2 then, Haskell-Crowna, Lee Mellows, Sunday 12:30, Kenny Park. Damien, similar to Pierces and Beha, both of these sides probably would have liked, and there probably was an expectancy maybe for them to get wins in their opening rounds, but it just shows the competitive nature of Group 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I suppose it's in keeping with the two groups, it's the two winners against the two losers. So yeah. I don't think many would have predicted that would have worked out that way, in all honesty, before the first round of games. So, Portumna seemed to be revitalised. Sean Tracy is in there as manager, and as a local and a good club man, he'll absolutely get the very best out of those fellas. It appeared Canning Joe was back to nearly his best in the first game. So, they'll be hoping. Well, this will be a real good test now, because Athenry are probably one of those teams that have probably slipped off the senior scene a little bit over the last few years, but beginning to make a bit of a comeback. Like Keane Burke is there a couple of years. He hurled well the last day. There's a scatter of Hardemans, a couple of Rabbits coming again. So Athenry are probably a team on the up. Portumna, on the other hand, I'm not going to say they're a team on the slide, but they probably need to just maintain what they have at the moment. When they get the likes of Declan McLaughlin and a few more of those fellas coming through, it'll probably rejuvenate some of the older fellas a little bit again, and they'll hang in there. And again, at juvenile level, they have some good players coming through. So it's a kind of a holding on attempt, whereas I think Athenry's ambitions are probably a little bit more upwards. So it should be a right good game now. Two probably teams that like to go at it and that like to put up fairly big scores. On the day, it's a hard one to call. I suppose I'd give the nod to Athenry very tentatively by 2 points.
How do you see it, Brady, that Portumna and Athenry game this weekend?
I go with Athenry for a couple of different reasons. I'll agree with Damien as well, and it's not just counter sharing. It's about, like, about Sean Tracy there, and Joe Canning. When you have a guy like that in your fold, he makes everything tick. Like, I'm not disrespecting anybody in Galway or hurling or youth coming through, but when you have the likes of Gerard Farrer and Joe Canning and David Burke getting min of the match, and where are the younger guys coming? We need to be bringing these guys now. Step back, you guys. I'm the kid on the block. Let me at it. We need to see more of this within the clubs. That's not a negative thing. It's just I'd love to see younger guys stepping up. Like young Niall. Now I'm looking forward to him. But going back to your point, I think Athenry, John Hardiman, probably the best manager or coach I was ever under, and I've worked under a lot of them. He's Athenry singing a tune. He's worked with all of these guys. His own young fella. Joe Rabbit lad, he would have worked with a lot of them underage. 90% of them would have gone through his hands, in the college up in Loughrea. He left Mike Cullen. He's gone back with his own club. And I can guarantee you that Athenry will be back in Senior A within the next 2 years and back where they belong. They're really, really coming. They opened the pitch up there. The opening of their other pitch out in Raheen the other day, Jarlath Burns came down and opened it for them, and they're doing a lot of great work. Like, Athenry probably one of the greatest senior teams outside of Loughrea I've ever seen. When you went through it, and they just fell off the radar, didn't like that. But they seem to have a lot of good young teams coming now, steadily. But when you go back to Portumna, they don't have an awful lot coming, but they're still holding on. How they're doing it, it's just a winning mentality within that club. They won't let go, and credit has to be given to them. Oh my God, they're an amazing club. They really are. But I think that Athenry will win it by 4 or 5 points. They're two totally different style of hurling teams. Athenry play a lot of running game. They're fast and they're small. They're biggish enough down the middle. I think their discipline will have to be to the fore, because anywhere within 100 yards, you cannot be shooting, because you know what Canning is going to do. And Hardy will have all that off to a tee. So I'll go with Athenry 4 points, and that one shocks.
Yeah, I'll go for a draw on that one, between Portumna and Athenry. Just on the earlier game in Group 2 there, Brady, Lee Mellows and Haskell-Crowna. both of them 0 points. Mellows, there was an expectancy under David Collins, good league campaign to push on in this group, but they're on 0 points. The Haskell beaten in the Senior B final last year. It's seasons on the line now for Mellows and Haskell this week.
It is, yeah, and there were two teams I thought would win the last day. But like Mellows, I know from talking to John Lee, he's a selector with them, and he probably killed me for saying it, but he said to me earlier on in the year, he said, we'll win the Senior B. You know, they've been moving very well, and it goes back to what you said about the league. They had been moving well under Collins as well. Maybe it was too soon for Collins to go back into management with his own club. That's just my own thinking on it. Step away for a few years, you know, don't be teaching the guys you would have played with. That's nothing to do. Collins is a great guy, you know, he get the best out of any team, but sometimes to walk away and let somebody else do it. Like he was trying to come in after Louis Mulqueen, you know. Louis done a great job there for a few years and got the best out of them. Collins is a pure, really Mellows man. And the Haskell Fohana, like they're one of these teams, they can go up to Senior A or they could be facing relegation in Senior B. They're that kind of a team. Now, I know Calster are going very, very well in the football, in the intermediate, and there's a lot of them guys tied in with that. Whether that's a focus taken off them to put down with the football or not, I don't know. But I go with Lee Mellows this weekend, and that one shocks by 2 or 3 points. So there won't be a lot between them.
How do you see that one, Damien?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Kevin said there. You know, it's kind of do or die now for both of those teams. I suppose Cathal Mannion, if he's back for a Haskell, he wasn't playing the last day. He'd be a massive addition if they could get him. Mellows, I suppose, very reliant on Ty Carn for scores up front, but like he's a real good free taker, and he will put up rack up a big score. You would imagine, I suppose, if Mellows' ambitions were high, you'd imagine that if there's any fight in them, that they'll have to win this game, because if they don't, it's a long battle. I just about give Mellows the nod by 2 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go Mellows by 5 there. I just think the loss of Sean Blaheen for Haskell Fohana is huge. So if we just move on now to the Intermediate Championship, Group 1, Clarinbridge, Kilbegan, Saturday, 6 o'clock, Loughrea. Damien, disappointing afternoon for Kilbegan in the opening round. Clarinbridge, we talk about the depth of their seniors, but intermediates, Michael Daly, Christy Brennan, like some of these players that are lining up for their intermediates.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the feature of probably the early rounds of the intermediate is usually that the teams who have senior teams as well, would say like Turlock, Craughwell, Clarinbridge, tend to lose players as the intermediate championship goes on, because there'll be fellas that'll step up to senior. The guys that you mentioned there would walk onto most senior teams in any club in the county. So, you know, it just shows the strength and depth that some of the clubs have at the moment. You know, it's tough on the likes of Kilbegan, my own club, Kiltormer, you know, probably Rahoon, you know, the teams that have kind of been thereabouts, but struggling a little bit also. You know, if you come up against one of the big guns in the first one, it's really difficult. You're on the back foot straight away, and you have very little chances left to get back into the championship. So, you know, Clarinbridge do look the form team there at the moment. Like Abinakmai, be no slouches when you come to Senior B or to Intermediate Hurling. They've been up and down over a couple of years. You know, to give them a good beating in the end. You'd have to assume that Clarinbridge are probably going to do okay in that group, but it's with the caveat, of course, that if some of their main players don't get moved up to senior as the championship goes on, the knockout stages of the Intermediate Championship will probably be completely different to the early stages. But I suppose the key is to be there that long.
Do you expect Clarinbridge to come through it against Quebec?
Yeah, I would expect Clarinbridge to win that, yeah.
And by how much there?
I'm going to say by 5 points.
It's probably one, Brady, too, where you expect Clarinbridge just to have too much as well.
I do, yeah. When you've guys there trying to break onto their senior team, especially with me all done and there, and they're trying to, you know, it brings a boost to the club within itself. So, good hurlers, you know, great stickmen. They'll be probably training with their senior team. So, Yeah, I'd be going with Clarinbridge, but I agree totally what Damien said. It's nearly like two championships later on in the year for the senior teams that lose them of intermediate players, So I wouldn't worry too much about it this time of the year, but I'd be going for Clarinbridge in this one.
By how much there too, Brady?
3 or 4 points. 3 points.
Yeah, no, I think Cambridge will come through that too this weekend, and I think they'll win out by 7 in the end. Teen Aberdeen and Abinackmoy 5:30 Sunday in Loughrea. Teen obviously the form team here. I'd say there probably will be a few concerns though. Shea Maloney went off injured, and not for this game. I still think they have a panel there, but they'll just want to get him back on the pitch and hope that the injury isn't too serious. But with that too, Brady, there's a certain sense of, I'd say, disappointment for Abinackmoy because they actually ran Ballindreen very close last year in the championship, and then to lose to Clarinbridge by 8 points, and it's very hard to see how they're going to beat Tina this weekend, and it's probably coming down to that last game against Kilbacon for them now.
It is, yeah. On paper, like Tina last year, we them all tipped to win win the intermediate, but they didn't take the expectation too well. Abbey are a real dogged team. They're really are. You bring Abbey, write them off at your pearl. There's a lot of these guys cross-coded as well with the football, and they had a tough game last weekend against St. James, and they threw it, and they'll be getting ready for the week after. I think there's 4, maybe 5 of them tied up. That's a distraction in itself, no more than Hasker Fohan or Calstra. But Teen Aberdeen, yeah, you'd be imagine, like, is Maloney out?
I don't know, but I know he came off injured with a knee injury the last day. So 2 weeks now, it's probably going to be a bit tight.
Yeah, I know he was taken off with a knee injury, but was any report on how bad it was, or no?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, like he's a class act for this level. Like he really is. Like he was a guy like that. He's still good enough to be in with a county panel. He really is. He's a class act. And then Matty Kinney involved with them there, and good backroom team as well. They'll be so well drilled. There'll be no Liam Hodgins. There'll be no stone left unturned with them. I would be expecting Tina to win this weekend.
By how much?
5 points.
Expect Tina, I presume, Damien, to have too much there.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be sickened after the way they lost the intermediate final last year. They had that game in their control, and I think they'll be out to put down a marker this year. No better man than Matty Kenny. He absolutely bleeds Teen Aberdeen, so I think he'll have them home through the group stages. So yeah, give Teen Abbey the nod by 5 points.
And as well, just Group 2, Damien, you mentioned your own club, Kilconieron, early on. They play Kinvara at 4:30 in Loughrea on Saturday. It was a tough opening day defeat for them against Turlock, and it's probably going to be tough again this weekend, given Kinvara have huge confidence now from that victory over Clymer in the opening round.
Yeah, there's no easy game in this group, Paul. Kinvara, their tails would certainly be up after a good win. Clymer were probably very unlucky to come down last year after working so hard to get up the previous year, and I suppose they're down at the bottom of the ladder again now, and they're probably wondering, can we get to the top? So, for Kinvara to come out and turn them over in the first game was probably a big achievement, because Kinvara, I described them sometimes they can be a little bit flaky. You don't know what you're going to get with them, even though they've got some very good hurlers. Mike Helibert is involved with them this year. I'd say, that they'll have all their T's crossed and their I's dotted for the group games. And the fact that they put down a marker in the first game leaves them in a very good position. So I'd say, Kiltormer will struggle. Kiltormer missing, I'd say, about 8 fellas from the championship final game against Cardenmore last year. So they've got a lot of new lads kind of coming in and trying to find their feet in intermediate. It's a tough group to try and find your feet in. So I'd have to give the nod to Kinvara on that one by 3 or 4 points.
Yeah, it's probably hard to see Kiltormer getting anything from this at the weekend, Brady.
It is, yeah, especially after Kinvara's day out the last day. Wouldn't you have the likes of Conor Whelan, the Galway senior captain, in with you? Hellebert's involved with them again. They have a lot of good young lads coming now in Kinvara. They really have. But going back to what Damien said, like, you've lost 8 guys since last year. Is that right, Damien?
Yeah. Between immigration and injury, it's too much to ship.
Like Turlock senior team couldn't cope with that, and they probably are Thomas's, and they've picked up whatever. Like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't realise that stats now. Like, that's half of your intermediate team, and like, to be even up in intermediate and be competitive. Now, I don't think they'll win the weekend. If they had the old guys, the whole guard back, I'd say yeah, because they knew how to grind it, but age waits for no man. So I'll go for Kinvara, but watch Kilconieron later on in the year. They're an intermediate team, but they won't be going down junior, I can guarantee you that.
Kinvara by how much there, Brady?
2 points.
Yeah, I'll go Kinvara by 7. The other game in New Inn at 12 o'clock on Sunday, Kilconieron, Turlock Moor. Kilconieron on 0 points, Turlock on 2 after their victory over Kilconieron. Brady, you're expecting a bit of a reaction now from Kilconieron after losing to Kinvara in the opening round.
You would, yeah, but surely no one wants to lose, especially to someone's second string team. It doesn't say a lot about your first string team, if the truth be told. Like, Kilconieron have great expectations, and they were up for a while and gone back down again. But we go back to what we said about Clarinbridge. Turlock will be losing maybe some of these guys later on in the year, but they have an awful pick of players in Turlock. They really have. They could feed 2 teams. And a lot of good young fellas coming through that won't play senior for a few years, but will be senior hurlers. Like,
she talked there, Badger,
yeah, like Badger and Turkey and a few guys, and like he might only stand at the square for 10-15 minutes, like, and he brings other guys into it. He's like, and he never misses a training session. I just see them training. He's just an exceptional bit of stuff. Like, they're always there. Every single day they're there, bringing on young fellas and be having the crack and this and that. They just love hurling. They love hurling. They're hurling men. I think Kilconieron now are very, very careful going in there against Turlock. But then again, Turlock can be wishy-washy in intermediate level as well. Some of them guys know they're not going to play senior. This is their last hurrah for maybe winning something. I'm going to go for Turlock on this one.
By how much?
Just 2 points.
How do you see it, Damien?
Well, I suppose if there's one word I could associate with Kilconieron, it's probably a bit of resilience. The last an intermediate final 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, I suppose, with a goal in the last puck of the game, Mike Cullen beat them. They came back the following year and won the intermediate championship. We're having a good cut at Senior B last year, and the wheels came off in one particular game, and they went into the relegation battle, I think, on score difference, and ended up coming down. So I know they're only up the road from us here. I know that they're putting a massive effort in to try and get back up and try and win the intermediate again. So I'm going to tentatively give them the nod. It'll be a tough one, this now. Turlock, as Kevin said there, some really good players. If I was over a team, I'd have Ronan Badger first name on any team listed. I'd write. I huge admiration for him. He's a great lad, and Turlock have loads and loads of good young players coming through. But I just think if Kilconieron have anything about them, they're going to have to win this one. So I'll give them the nod by a point.
Yeah, I think Kilconieron to come to that by 3 in the end. Just have a big reaction after their opening round defeat and get their campaign back on track. Group 3, Cylon and Craughwell, Saturday, 4:30 tune. Is it going to be 2 from 2 for Cylon this weekend, Brady?
I think so, for the fact that it's Craughwell's second team as well. And I don't think the Craughwell's first team is hugely strong, but not hugely strong. This is Cylon's first team. They're missing a couple of guys the next day. Or Martin is out with a broken hand or a broken finger. He's a big loss to them now. Or Martin was in with a Go development squad, which is big for Cylon. But a good man. He's 6'4". He can hurl high or low. Keelan Craven is still out, a knee injury. I'd say the looks of it, Craven could be out for the year. Now they have Kieran Fleming back, which is a huge bonus. I was involved with coaching him a few years ago, and a good few of them lads, the Igos and all these guys, and they're super, super young lads. Now, they didn't set the light world against your own club, Anna, down the last day, Shocks. only beat them a goal. Wasn't the best game of the hurling in the world, but first round of the championship, lads figuring out things, and like Joe Hession is doing good work down there. He's bringing in a different style of hurling to them. It's more pass and move kind of hurling that they're playing down in Ceylon at the moment, and it's going to take a year or two. They've been to 2 semi-finals now, and I just think that Ceylon will have enough the weekend. Probably not going as well this time of the year as they were last year, but that's fine. That's fine. It's basically just getting injuries right, and sometimes scraping through games is fine. You know what your ability is, and okay, park that result and move forward. And all of these kind of things. Damien knows the ins and outs of it, but I just think Ceylon will have enough for them the next day. I'd have Ceylon by 4 points.
How do you see it, Damien?
Yeah, I'd fully agree with Kevin there. I think Ceylon have been one of those teams knocking on the door for the last couple of years, kind of, beavering away, learning their trade, getting up to speed with some of the hurling of the other places. They've done really, really well. The first game would have been a good dog fight with Annadown. There wouldn't be much between the teams. There'd be a lot at stake, being a kind of a local derby. They came through that. They're nice and steady getting their results. I would think they'll win this one at the weekend. I'd go Ceylon by 4.
Yeah, I think Ceylon will come through that by 6 at the weekend against Craughwell. The other game, 1:45, Carmore and Sunday, Pearse Stadium. Carmore got over the line in the end against Craughwell. They probably are a side maybe where you think they might have too much for Annadown this weekend, doing.
It's hard to know. Again, I suppose there's a touch of a local derby about it. Carnmore are a team that I feel have underachieved a bit over the last number of years. Like they haven't fully built on good minor A championship win a couple of years ago. So they have a sprinkling of very good players, but and they can get to a certain level, but they just seem to struggle a little bit when it comes to having to press that button to go up a notch. Having said that, I think they might have too much for Annadown this weekend. So I'd give the nod to Carnmore by 2 points.
Brady, how would you see Carnmore and Annadown? You obviously seen Annadown against Ceylon.
Yeah, Annadown not going great, to be honest. No shocks. Damien Comer and even Kilconieron and a few of these guys. But Carnmore for me are a team last year that, they're coming nice and steady. I think they won't be far off senior hurling again now. They'll be in the top 2 or 3 of the intermediate this year. They have a couple of lovely young fellas coming through. Dick O'Brien's involved with them. They'll be physically fit. It's just a matter if you can get a run in the intermediate championship. That's what it's all about. If you can get a run in the intermediate championship, you have a great chance, and you'll be hoping somebody else would knock out the likes of your Tinas and all of these kind of guys. But I'd be going for Carnmore this weekend by 6 points.
Yeah, I think Carnmore will come through this by 4 in the end against Annadown. Just down to the last group then, Group 4. Ballygare, Mullagh Court, 3 o'clock on Sunday in Duggan Park. Both of these sides coming into this one, Damien, on the back of victories.
Yeah, and again, I suppose Mullagh Court are a team that have been around knocking on the door for the last couple of years. Last year we defined the Clarinbridge 2 years ago. They're thereabouts. They're probably a bit of an enigmatic side in lots of ways. In that some days, they can kind of go into cruise control and kind of really cruise through games. And then other days you'll be saying, Jesus, where their score is going to come from. And I think ultimately that's probably what's going to determine whether the winner loses. Have they enough of scoring forwards up front? I'd say at the moment, maybe not, but they'll be thereabouts. Ballygare, kind of a bit of an unknown quantity, that they're very dogged. I'd say as the pitches get a bit heavier, it'll suit some of their bigger, stronger guys, but they do have a sprinkling of really good hurlers coming through. We saw a couple of good minors this year, and they've had a few players on different county panels over the last few years. So, they're probably at the level that they deserve to be at. You'd probably say Mullagh Court's experience at this level should just about carry them over, and I'd give them the nod by 3 points.
How do you see it, Brady?
Yeah, I go with Damien on that one, and I'll go with the same score difference for the reason. Like, Airport are around a while now. They could destroy you within 15 minutes, or they could destroy themselves within 5 minutes. That's the kind of a team they are. They're self-destructive, and they make their own hay when the sun shines. Like when I've seen Aircourt now a few times, when they keep their game simple, they move the ball lovely. They move it lovely. They have a nice free taker. Ballygar now going well as well. Went well the last day. They're cross-coding as well with football, and they have a small area up there. Like, huge credit has to go to Ballygar. I don't know a lot of their guys by name, but I would have seen them a couple of times in both hurling and football, and they're really, really gelled together. There won't be an awful lot in this the weekend, but when it comes down to the last 5-6 minutes of, panic in hurling, I think Ballygar might panic a small bit, and that's why you have the Aircourt coming out. So I just think Aircourt by 3 points.
In that one, yeah, Ballygar had a massive win over Rahoon. Meelick struggled over Skahana-Montbellew. So I'm going to sit on the fence for this one and go for a draw. So then just the final game of the weekend, we're going to look ahead to Skahana-Montbellew Mullagh, just up from junior. They take on Rahoon after the earlier game in Group 4 at 4:45 in Duggan Park on Saturday. Rahoon took a comfortable loss in the end to Ballygar. Is there more positive stuff for Skahana-Montbellew, Brady? Like, they ran Meelick Aircourt to 2 points in the opening round, and they're just a year up from junior.
Yeah, sometimes when you come up from junior or come up from intermediate, you can get a run at senior or get a run in intermediate. Like, they wouldn't fear Rahoon. Like, Rahoon have been there with how long now? I have fancied them, I'd say, over the last 6, maybe 8 years to push on win an intermediate, and they haven't. For me, they're on the way down now.
Yeah, not having Eamon Rannigan as well this year for them is a big loss.
Yeah, exactly. Not alone in Brannigan, but that Shocks was involved with them a few years ago, and John Paul O'Connell, and I don't know. Rahoon, they have huge numbers, but at the same time, Skahana-Montbellew, like, there'll be a few lads involved with them there from Clonberne. I was involved with football a few years ago. Good lads, Morans and these guys. They're really good hurlers up in Skahana-Montbellew now. Really, really good hurlers. They can move the ball well. Their touch is excellent, and they're hurling mad, the guys that are at it. They'll have no fear of coming in and playing a city team that haven't really produced the goods over the years. So I'm going to go Skahana-Montbellew on this one by 2 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go Skahana-Montbellew by 6 points. And how do you see it, Damien?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you, lads. I think Skahana-Montbellew Mullagh deserve great credit for the work that they're doing. They lost the junior final to Ballygar 2 years ago, came back and won it in style last year. They're putting massive work in at underage, some lovely tasty hurlers coming through. I think they're an up and coming team. I'm not sure if Shawnee McDonough is playing or is injured at the moment, but
yeah, listed as number 30 on the programme, so there's always that kind of question when you're that low down.
If he gets in the zone, he's one of the best lads around the place, and I wouldn't back against him. So yeah, I'll give the nod to Skahana-Montbellew Mullagh by 2 points.
Yeah, so huge amount of action in round 2 that we looked ahead to there this weekend. In total, we have 8 games in the Senior Hurling Championship, 4 games in the Senior Ree, and then 8 in Intermediate as well, taking place across Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's all we do have time for on today's podcast. Thanks to Kevin and Damien for coming on.
Thanks, guys.